In this lecture, we want to take a look at understanding how Rails handles Ajax. So for those who don't know what Ajax is, it's like on the surface, it's really about interacting with your web page and your website without a full page reload. And so what do I mean by a full page reload? Well, if you notice, if I click any link in the page, and even though this page is loading fast, it actually is doing a full page reload. And I can go back and forward in the history, which you can also see in here too. We're navigating through the app. I can click on any of these, right? And so those are actually sending requests. I could also look at, anytime we interact with the page, a new request gets sent, and that's what these server logs are showing, is the full response in the page. So there's a request by clicking, and the response is what the server will give you back. So that's pretty standard, pretty normal, but sometimes doing full page refreshes, reloads, can take away from the user experience. Whereas using Ajax, which actually you can actually make a request to the server and update just parts of your page without doing a full page reload. So sometimes that's cool and beneficial. So I'm going to show you an example of that today. And the example I'm going to use today is actually on a destroy. So like right now, if I click on destroy and click OK, what that will do is go to the server, delete that file, and then reload this device's page, excluding it actually reloads the index page as well to reload all the devices. And again, it happens pretty quick, but it does that full response cycle. So what I want to do is actually just, when I click destroy, I want it to just go ahead, delete the record, but then only, if I can select this very well, only delete this one element out of the DOM is really what I want to do. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing we need to do is actually, Rails makes it really easy to turn any link into an Ajax link. And I'll show you how to do that. If I go to the code. Yeah, here it is, destroy. If I simply just do a remote true, that will set up a data attribute on that link that Rails looks for and says, if I see this, I'm going to turn this into an Ajax link. All right, so let me hit refresh, and I'll just show you what that looks like. Right here, right here, data remote equals true. Rails will look for that, and it kind of observes that in the DOM and says if anytime that gets clicked, we're going to do an Ajax call. And it's going to make an Ajax call to the same href here, but it's just going to do it, instead of doing a full get on that, it's just going to do an Ajax call on that. So that's pretty cool. Rails makes it really easy to do that. And so, well, where is that going? Well, if we head over to the devices controller, right, we have our index, get device, new. This one is actually going to delete. In fact, if I look at that again, notice we have our method, which is delete, and that's how Rails knows to go, not only to go to devices / device ID, but using the method delete, it knows to go to the destroy action. So that's where you see a delete here to this URL will come into this action. All right, so then it looks up at a device to destroy, and then on a full request response cycle, this HTML is called. Now we've never used this this JSON format here, so I'm going to ignore that for now. But that's if you ever set up like an API where you have a front end. Maybe I'll make a note of that here. You know, if you have a front end JavaScript framework, i.e. Angular, React, etc. They would most likely use JSON calls to your controllers. So we're not doing any of that this quarter, obviously. That would be a cool topic for another class, though. So definitely something to look into, or at least for some research. But Rails makes it really easy to create backend APIs to. The HTML is for your full request and then response from the server. So full page request response from the server, and that reloads the page. And that's what we've been using all along the whole quarter, which is fine. But whenever we want to do Ajax calls to this controller action, we need to use format.js. And you know, yeah, I wish they would have did something like format.ajax or something, but JS, it really is. Ajax is just part of JavaScript anyway, so it makes sense. You just got to make that translation. So for format.js, and so when that happens, we need to do some other things. What Rails expects now is it expects you to create another file, and this is along all your other views. Notice there's these forms and edit, index, show, etc. here. We actually just need to create another file that matches the same name as the action, so destroy. And then Rails has a convention to name this file .js.erb. And so those extensions are actually important. .js is obviously responding to this format.js, so there's the match there. But then ERB, let me get back to this file, ERB also means you can embed Ruby into this JavaScript. So it sounds kind of weird at first, but it's actually really handy, and Rails makes it super easy to embed your Ruby code into JavaScript. And I'll show you what that looks like. So what we want to do in here is I'm just going to make some quick notes. Actually, we should just see if this even works. So I'm just going to write JavaScript called from destroy.js.erb. So let's just see if that even works. Refresh, go to the console, and click destroy, and boom, there it was. Called from destroy. That was from that destroy.js.erb file, so that's cool. And also you can see XHR is the short notation for Ajax. So we also made that Ajax call successfully. So we got a couple good positive notes here that this is working. So again, what was my goal here again? Well, what I want to do is, instead of doing a full page response here, when I click destroy, I just want to remove this one TR out of the DOM and not do a full page refresh. All right, so let's get back to thinking about that. Well, I need to somehow identify each of these rows uniquely. And right now, there's nothing uniquely identifying each row out of the DOM. So what I'm going to do is go back into the code and update the DOM, this element, give each an ID of I'm going to use the device ID, which makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to give each row so that I can identify and do something with it after the Ajax call is made. So let's look and see what that did. Hit refresh. And then all the DOM elements, let's see, all the rows. Notice all the rows now have device and then the ID, so we can uniquely identify each row. This will be important in a second. So finally, what I want to do now is in here, instead of just doing a console.log, I actually just want to write some JavaScript. I want to find the element. Remember, we use the device and then the ID. So here's the part where I can embed some Ruby right into my JavaScript, which is pretty cool. And you might be wondering, well, where did this device come from? Well, again, we got to make the connection that we're coming from this controller right here. When we actually did do a lookup on device, and we have this instance variable, and Rails will make that instance variable in your JavaScript template, basically. So, which is super cool. Makes it super convenient to access that value, so you know what to do with it. So that's how we can get that over here for free. So we're going to get that element, and again, let's just go full circle with this. Let's just make sure we're getting the right thing. So I'm going to console log the element out, and it should be the table row. Okay, so let's destroy one of these. Boom. We print out the table row. Yep, that looks good. So that's the one we deleted. Awesome. So I think that this is great. So the last thing we want to do is just remove it from the DOM. So we're just using straight up JavaScript here. We'll remove it from the DOM. I'm going to save that. Refresh here. I don't think I need to. Okay. So now I can destroy this first one. And this row, so this first row, Acer, iPhone 5S, Windows 10, Jacqueline, MR, that should just disappear without doing a page refresh. And it did. So notice we made an XHR request. That first row disappeared, and we did not do a page refresh. So super cool. Let's see if we can analyze that request a little bit more. So there's the response. There's the request. Let's take a look at this real quick. So we requested this URL using the delete method. We got an OK status code, which means everything went well. And then we got a response, or I guess, I don't know, what else can we look at? Some headers. We have JavaScript headers. I guess nothing else much more exciting. This X requested with is HTML, HTTP request. So I just wanted to show you some things to look for that we are making an Ajax call versus just a regular request. So that's pretty cool. Let's see if I go back to network again. Go here to this one. Notice that was a regular response or regular request. And notice there's no XHR. There's no XHR call down here. Whereas on this 217 one, there was an X requested with. On this 218 one, which is my click to the edit page, there's nothing Ajax about this at all. In fact, the accept header is a text HTML, whereas on the Ajax call, it's the accept header is text JavaScript. So I'm just getting you to notice and observe the different types of things the headers are sending and passing back and forth to the server. so that the server knows if it's a regular request or not. Cool, cool. Well, that pretty much does it for that. I hope this helped demonstrate, at least scratch the surface on understanding the difference between an Ajax request and a regular full request response request. So that's it for now. Talk to you later.